Okay, folks, we got the vacuous. All the links will be underneath the video as per usual. According to the vacuous Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, if you cannot afford a $2.75 fare, and I would wager, should I look this up, which I did, there are a lot of taxpayers who subsidize transit in New York City despite not using it. Urban mass transit gets a lot of taxpayer subsidies each year. If you cannot afford a $2.75 fare for public transit in New York City, you can riot, throw a hissy fit, maybe an autistic fit, and somehow the folks demanding you to pay the fare are the bad guys. Let's take the mentally ill Cortez's example even further. And again, all the links are underneath there. You can check this out. What if you cannot afford the $100 you're charged at Walmart because you cannot do this on Amazon or Walmart if Walmart's going to deliver your groceries to the front of the store? What if you can't afford the $100 you're charged at Walmart at the register? Can you have a bipolar fit? Have your other bipolar, mentally ill buddies storm the store and wreck the place because you refuse to support yourself? If you cannot afford gasoline, and much of the price of that is because of state taxes, if you cannot afford gasoline, can you have an autistic fit, storm the counter with a dozen of your friends who also have a lot of free time, wreck the place because the bad guys want you to pay for your gas? How much does a fare have to be before it's so much that riding over it becomes foolish? Are you going to riot because a car dealership demands you pay $20,000 for a decent SUV? How about this? We're not going to stand for paying the average $2.80, 81 cents in New York State per gallon for gasoline, and we're going to riot because of that. What if they tried this with private owners? You refuse to pay for gasoline for your lawnmower because mental illness, and you attempt to acquire my lawnmower sans my permission. Well, that wouldn't be a wise decision. That's all I'll say. Notice how these people just demand all sorts of favoritism and freebies because they exist, and they're going to try and bully their way to it. Remember, every bully will get bullied back at some point, and they may not like the result. So, you see kind of what they're setting up here is if you don't think you can afford something, you don't think you should pay something, you have a right to it, and you can just not pay your light bill, not pay your water bill, not pay the fare, and people will take advantage of this because in some cities the police aren't going to pursue you if you steal, say, less than $100 worth of stuff. Well, these people are stupid and lazy, but they're not that stupid, so they'll purposely steal less than $100. So what if you're a mom and pop store? How many of those can you tolerate before you have to go out of business or raise your prices so much nobody wants to come in? Or are you going to hire a security guard to knock their teeth out when they try to run out with their $90 worth of stuff? And if you knock their teeth down your throat for stealing, are they going to get, sued for that? So you see what she's setting up here. Basically, if you have a little hissy fit and it's not very much, you don't have to pay it. And it's just going to get worse and worse. She's defending these people. These people are sick. So, and I do need to say something about mass incarceration. If you want to end that, you should have voted for Ron Paul. Ron Paul was stumping for that while Bernie Sanders was still watching shady videos, shady VHS tapes, and that commune he got kicked out of for not working before he finally got a job as a public servant because he never earned a dime in the private sector. So yeah, the Libertarian Party has been stumping for the end of the war on drugs since the 1970s, and Ron Paul has been on board with that in the Republican Party and Libertarian Party. So yeah, you're not blazing a new trail, AOC. You might think you are, but you're not. You're quite late for that. I would also say she's probably only against the war on drugs because she likes using that stuff. I don't know if she's privy to smoking pot, but it wouldn't surprise me. I don't stump for the legalization of something just because I like it. So a lot of these people, they just say, well, I like doing that, so it should be legal. Well, no, I don't like doing drugs, but it should be legal, Their liberty ends, and then, of course, when I talk about, maybe getting a health care plan where I don't have to pay for mental health parity and smoking cessation and drug counseling, well, then you're selfish now. No, I'm not. Just had to get that off my chest. I did look up how much the New York City Metropolitan Transportation Authority receives in taxpayer subsidies because their fares do not cover its operating costs. Surprise, They're getting a lot of money from folks who do not use it. If you go to page 24, 25 of the document I linked, they received in 2017 and 2018 combined $237 million from the Connecticut Department of Transportation. $237 million. $178 million from federal taxpayers in the form of Build America bond subsidies, which encourages municipalities to pile on debt. Debt servicing, or interest on long-term debt, was a paltry $1.46 billion in 2018 for the New York City MTA. Mass Transportation Trust Fund subsidies are from the Highway Trust Fund, which taxpayers in Iowa, like myself, pay for. New York City MTA received in 2017 and 2018 in toto over $1.2 billion. And if you go to table 12.3 at another link I referenced, you will see two lines labeled Urban Mass Transportation Grants. These lines from 2016 to 2018 equal $37 billion in federal dollars. Taxpayers in Iowa, Idaho, Kansas, etc., rural parts of Texas, rural parts of New York, are subsidizing bankrupt public transportation in places like New York City. That should be a task for the state of New York at the most, and quite possibly just the city of New York. If those troglodytes are going to whine about a fare of $2.75, the reason it's so low, and if they can't even pay that, then they must not have a very good job or much of an education or work ethic. The reason it's so low, that fare, is because taxpayers like myself, who don't hang out on urban mass transit with gangbangers, drug addicts, and transients, are paying for it. You should probably be paying a lot more than $2.75, but because of the forced generosity of folks like myself in flyover country subsidizing your public transit, you pay such a low fare. You should thank me and other taxpayers like me. If you don't pay taxes, and I would wager most of the folks protesting do not have any federal income tax liability, if you don't pay taxes, you shouldn't be whining about paying $2.75 to ride urban mass transit with a lot of folks who shower once a week, whether they need it or not. Maybe buy a vehicle. Oh wait, you can't even pay a $2.75 fare. You can't even afford a pack of cigarettes in New York City, but that might get you a single, let alone a vehicle. Cortez is a microcosm of the protesters. She never paid any federal income taxes on net when she was in the private sector, and was still whining about successful, usually white folks who can actually afford a nice vehicle. Cortez probably couldn't even afford a small car because she never had, well, she could now, because when she was in the private sector, she never had a job where she made enough to pay taxes. The earned income tax credit covered all her earnings. She's never had a job in the private sector where she's had to pay taxes. Neither has Bernie Sanders. She's a failure, and her political reviews reflect that. So I'll leave another link under there too. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, I don't think that's a good idea to get your supporters ginned up like that, even people who don't live in your district, because some of them they don't have both oars in the water, and they're going to push somebody, a private citizen, a little too far at some point, and it's not going to end well. So you might want to quit doing that. You might want to quit encouraging people to snub their nose at a $2.75 fare, which would be a lot higher if it weren't for taxpayers like me getting their money stolen to pay for bankrupt urban mass transit in New York City. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now.